Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Traffic and Transportation Commission for April 21st, 2025. We'll go ahead and do roll call first. We'll go to Commissioner Varnell. Here. Commissioner Littlefield is not available. Go to Commissioner Carnes.
Here.
Commissioner Hale.
Here.
Commissioner Martinez.
Here.
Commissioner Wynn. Here. Commissioner George.
Here.
And Commissioner Cornett.
Here.
All right. We go to item number 2, approval of the Traffic and Transportation Commission meeting minutes for March 17th, 2025. Do we have a motion concerning
Motion
this?
to approve. I'm sorry.
Let me have that. Motion approved, but we have a correction.
Yeah, there's a
That's fine.
correction. Yeah. Perfect. Okay, go ahead with your motion.
On the minutes from the February meeting, actually, I made the motion to approve them in March. The current meetings say that Carnes made the motion and seconded them both.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So there's a motion on that. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hale. Any discussion? So we have a motion from Commissioner Varnell to approve the minutes of the March 17, 2025 with the one correction as put into his motion, seconded by Commissioner Hale, and we'll have the votes here in a second. Yeah, we have the motion from Commissioner Varnell, seconded by Hale. There we go. Yep, with the changes. All right, votes, please. All right, the motion, which include the changes, has passed, 7 in favor, 1 abstained. Okay, we go to item 3, reports from the Traffic Services Division in the Counselor's Office. Sir?
All right, you've got our Section 3 reports before you. Since the March meeting, there have been no other signals approved by this body. So you've got our standing unfunded signals list. You've also got the number of speed humps or speed cushions that have been installed under our alternative speed abatement program. And there have been no, and then our administrative yield controls are before you. We've had no turn or other parking items approved administratively. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have about our Section 3 report.
Okay, anybody have comments for staff? Okay, Counselor?
No reports from the Municipal Counselor's Office.
Thank you very much, sir. There are no items on the consent docket, so we'll go on now to item 5, items for individual consideration. 5A, Brandy Bundy, PE, Assistant Public Works Director, to change all-way stop control to north-south stop control at Northwestern Avenue and West Sheridan. Hi, if I have your name and address, you have up to 5 minutes.
Yes. Brandon Bundy, 420 West Main. Appreciate you looking at this item. This item is to look at the signal or the stop warrants for this intersection after the Oklahoma City Boulevard has been finished. I'm available for any questions.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
Anybody else wanted to speak on item 5A? Okay, staff, do we have input?
Yes, okay, so you've got our staff report before you. On page 1, under the traffic volumes, you'll notice that the east-west volumes on Sheridan Avenue are typically running in the neighborhood of 5,700 vehicles per day. At the same time, the volumes on Western Avenue are running at 1,600 vehicles per day. We did run an all-way stop control warrant analysis, and that appears starting on page 3 of your report. The summary is on page 5, and when we reviewed the 5 criteria that are used to assess an intersection for using all-way stop control, this particular intersection did not meet any of the criteria for retaining all-way stop control. The reason why it is in its current configuration is when the Oklahoma City Boulevard project was done following the Interstate 40 project, This particular intersection had been signalized previously, but Western Avenue was reduced to a cul-de-sac south of Sheridan Avenue. So at that time during construction, all-way stop was set up as an interim measure. And so what we'd done administratively, we'd brought an item to the commission to consider just retaining the all-way stop control. And at this point in time, volumes have changed to the point where our assistant director, Brandon Bundy, has noticed it and made a request to have the north-south stops retained and the east-west stops removed. So Sheridan can function more as a commuter route to get people to the Oklahoma City Boulevard. You'll also notice that on the drawing that's up on the screen right now that back in 2024, there was an item that came before the commission, which was to evaluate the intersection of Klein and Sheridan. And at that time, they were requesting all-way stop control, which the commission approved, but that intersection is also being looked at for future improvements to convert it to a roundabout and to improve lane conditions on Klein between Sheridan and Oklahoma City Boulevard. And aside from that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have on the application.
All right, thank you very much. Do we have a motion concerning item 5A? A move to approve from Commissioner George. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hale. Do we have any talk on this item? Okay, we have a motion to approve from Commissioner George, seconded by Commissioner Hale. Can we have your votes, please? Let's check it now. Okay, item has passed. With all 8 in favor. Okay, we go on now to item 5B. Carol, parking restriction on the south side of Northwest 29th Street from North Ann Arbor Avenue to North Ditmer Road, effective 7 a.m. to 8:30 and 2:30 p.m. to 4 p.m., school days only. Hi, ma'am. Can I have your name and address? And you'll have up to 5 minutes.
Good afternoon. I'm Carol Selyaseth. I live at 4909 Northwest 29th Street, which is just around the corner and north of Windsor Hills Elementary School. And therein lies the problem. Parents are dropping off their children and picking them up, and they are parking on both sides of 29th Street. That means that there is only room for one car, and many times I have come down the street only to meet a car going in the opposite direction. And it gets very complicated for how you work that out. Also, it's very complicated for emergency vehicles to get down that street. And we are one of the few streets that gets into the rest of the Windsor Oaks neighborhood. So if there were complications down the street, they'd still have to go past our street to get to the emergency. The children that are walking then are walking kind of in and around these parked cars. And we ask for no parking on the south side so that because the school is south of us, then children coming from the school could stay on the south side until they absolutely needed to cross the street. And then many times there was a high school bus that stops at the corner of 29th and Ann Arbor. And those children walk through all these cars also. So combination of elementary school, high school kids, and parked cars, and it just looks like a dangerous situation.
All right. Anything else, ma'am?
So for the safety of the school children and also anybody who needs an emergency vehicle, we'd like to have no parking. And we're restricting it to reasonable times and school days only, so it shouldn't be a big hardship on the neighborhood. It should actually be beneficial. Thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Anybody else wanting to speak on item 5B? All right, staff input, please.
All right, you've got our comments before you. The applicant has provided a petition meeting the Commission's policy demonstrating local support for the parking restriction on the south side of 29th Street between Ann Arbor and Dittmer. 23 of 24 residents in the required petition canvas limit signed the petition in favor of the request. So when it's in effect, the requested restriction will decrease on-street parking opportunities on the south side of Northwest 29th Street for area residents, service providers, and visitors to the neighborhood, but only between the certain hours and on days when school is in session. So action on this item will be at the discretion of the commission. I'm happy to answer any other questions you might have on the application.
All right, thank you. Do we have a motion concerning item 5B?
I move approval of the application.
Motion to approve from Commissioner George. Do we have a second?
Seconded.
Okay, yeah. Second by Commissioner Martinez. Okay, do we have any talk on item 5B? Yes, sir.
Has there been any conversation with the elementary school to try to mitigate any of this?
None that I'm aware of. However, it's not an uncommon practice for parents or other people who are driving to get their kids to park, at a nearby location. When we were out there observing, typically the parents that stopped their vehicles on 29th Street typically exited, went and picked up their kids, and then just drove them home. It just prevented them from having to go through any queues that might have formed on Ann Arbor. But even if we were to talk with the school might encourage people not to do that, but it's still still driver discretion.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, any other talk on item 5B? Okay, we have a motion to approve 5B from Commissioner George, seconded by Commissioner Martinez, and ready to vote. Item has passed with all 8 in favor. Okay, we go on now to item 5C. Debbie Miller, Public Works Director, City Engineer. Change the speed limit on Southwestern Avenue between Southwest 3rd Street and Southwest 29th Street from 40 to 30 miles per hour. Ma'am, if I could have your name, address, you'll have up to 5 minutes.
Sure. Debbie Miller, 420 West Main, 7th floor. This item is the result of a meeting with the city manager's office and representatives from the Wheeler District. This is to kind of help with some traffic calming. Along with the reduction, we are going to be installing some driver feedback signs also. So I'd be glad to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, ma'am. All right, anybody else wanting to speak on this item? And I know we have a bunch. So we can do this however you all want. We could have one person come up and speak for the mass, per se, if that's in favor. And then if somebody is against it, we can have somebody come up and go against, and then we can go from there. So do we have a neighborhood representative or something like that? Okay. We'll let you go first, and we'll see what goes on. Your name and address, and you'll have up to 5 minutes.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. My name's Ashley Terry. I'm at 1801 Wheeler Street, Suite 150 in Oklahoma City at the Wheeler District. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I serve as Vice President of Development for Wheeler District, and I'm so thankful for you all taking the time to hear from us today and giving us the opportunity to speak. Over the past few weeks, we've asked the community to share their experiences along this corridor, and quite frankly, this response has been overwhelming. Today, as you can see right now, we are submitting to you 185 signed letters of support from Wheeler District and Jones Grove residents, Oklahoma City business owners, parents, grandparents, educators, commuters, and others who experience Western Avenue every day. These letters describe a street that feels unsafe with frequent speeding, dangerous crossings, and daily anxiety just trying to go about their everyday life. Business owners worry about customer access, parents worry about their kids, and commuters just want to get to work safely every day. While today's vote is about the posted speed limit, and we're very appreciative for that, the community understands that a signage change alone will not be enough to slow down speeds. The letters also express a strong support for additional design changes, including roundabouts, narrower lanes, and a connection at Southwest 15th Street, all of which are essential to making this corridor safer, more accessible, and better aligned with the needs of the people who use it every single day. This is not a small issue, even though it may seem like one. This affects quality of life, economic vitality, and everyday mobility for the people who use this street. We're grateful for the city's attention to this. We're grateful for Debbie's attention to this, the city manager's attention to this, and we're hopeful that today's vote to lower the speed will mark the first step in lasting improvements along Western Avenue. Thank you so much for your time today.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Anybody else in favor needs to say anything different than what she was talking about? We'd be happy to listen to you.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. If I may have your name and address, and you have up to 5 minutes.
Absolutely. Blair Humphreys, at 1801 Wheeler Street. And I think it might be helpful just to have everyone in the room stand up if you're here in support of interventions on Western Avenue. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Keep standing ready for the camera, everybody. I don't need the camera, actually.
And we'll wait just a second, because we want to make sure to get everything documented. So just wait a second. When she said she lost her computer, that means the YouTube video might not be working or anything. So just wait a second here until I get the thumbs up.
All good. What I'm going to do is actually provide an opportunity. I know there's a number of people who took time out of their workday to be here, and would love for them to have the opportunity, if they signed up, to at least speak. And each individual's experience on the corridor is different, so I'll give them that opportunity, and then I can close out some remarks at the end.
Okay. We're just waiting for a little bit here until I get the thumbs up that we're back on, or she's back on. Okay, IT says we're on the air, and she's still working on her screen, which we'll need eventually. So we'll go ahead and keep on going. It was recommended by the last speaker to let other people come up and talk, which is fine. Again, we'll have your name, your address. You'll have up to 5 minutes. But again, if it's something that's already been said, you could just say, I support it, and off we go. But if you have something new, please let us know. Go ahead, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Heather Zacharias. I am the founding head of school of Western Gateway Elementary. We're located at 1300 Southwest 15th Street on the corner of Southwest 15th and South Douglas Avenue, and we serve families in South Oklahoma City. I wanted to begin today with something not only personal and urgent, but also very near and dear to the heart of our school community. It's important for this board to know that at the start of the school year in August, during dismissal from our school, a first grade student was struck by a car while crossing Western Avenue with his mother and his second grade sister. They were walking to the city bus on a stretch of Western that lacks crosswalks and safe access to the bus stop on the east side of Western. He was hospitalized, but fortunately and thankfully, he made a full recovery and he returned to school a week later. The entire school community was deeply affected by this incident, and his peers and teachers were understandably worried. Personally, one of my worst nightmares to have a student hit by a car, and it was a very traumatic experience for all of us. This tragedy could have been avoided with proper crosswalks, pedestrian-friendly access to public transit, as well as a decreased speed limit on Western. That's why I strongly support the continued improvement of Southwestern Avenue, especially the proposed connection at Southwest 15th Street, and of course, today's agenda item, the decreased speed from 40 to 30. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Hey, I'm Blake Fisher. I live at 1804 Runway Boulevard. Some of what they've already said, I agree with, of course, but a couple other things. It's like the posted speed limit is one thing, but I mean, how many people in here have heard people drag racing at night down Western, right? Like most of us. So it's well beyond the 40 that people are going right now. It's not that 40 miles is unsafe. It's that people are going 50, 60 miles an hour. I've gotten to the point where I just pull out in front of people if I don't have kids in the car because I've got a steel bumper and I figure tire trucks are going to show you we're going 60 miles an hour, so hit me. But it's impossible to get out of the neighborhood. It takes a long time. It backs stuff up because there's so much fast traffic going both ways. And then on top of that, we also have no access. We live in Wheeler because we like being downtown, but we don't really have a way to walk or get bikes downtown without crossing that, what is essentially a 4-lane highway right now, especially because I think anyone that traveled down Western before the Wheeler neighborhood started getting built, there's essentially there's no intersections coming between the light at Wheeler Park and the train tracks. So you've got like, I don't know, a mile almost there that people can just go as fast as they want without having to worry about people coming in and out. So it's not just the speed limit necessarily, it's also just that people are ignoring that current speed limit and going. It's very easy to do. By the way, there's a huge hill there. It's really easy to even just let your foot off the gas and be going 50 miles an hour on that. So it's not, but it would be great if I could let my kids ride their bike across Western, but there's absolutely zero chance I would do that right now. And I don't even feel comfortable doing it most of the time. So that's what I would say.
Hi, my name's Diane Thomas. I live at 1925 Runway Boulevard. Hello, and thank you for your service. I'm a parent, grandparent, and a retired teacher living in the Wheeler District. I'm deeply concerned about the speeds I see on Southwestern Avenue. The recent incidents, including the one involving the 6-year-old being hospitalized after being struck crossing the street, underscore just how urgent this issue is. These are not isolated events. They are part of a clear and ongoing pattern of danger on this stretch of road. Families travel along Western Avenue every day, and the current conditions put them at constant risks. Roundabouts will not only reduce dangerous speeds, but they'll also visually and functionally reinforce the idea that this is a place where people live, work, play, and gather, not just drive through at high speeds. Redesigning the street to support these safer speeds will further support that shift. As a parent, grandparent, and someone who has spent her adult life caring for and educating children, I want to live in a neighborhood where I don't have to second guess the safety of others. Southwestern Avenue is unsafe for bikers, pedestrians, and drivers just trying to pull out onto Western. And installing roundabouts and narrowing the street will make this stretch of road safer for children, families, and everyone who moves through the area. Please be a partner with parents, grandparents, and families in the community and help us make this street safer now before another preventable tragedy occurs. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Mia McCullers. My address is 1024 Peddlers Lane. Today I'm speaking to you not just as a concerned resident, but as someone who nearly lost the person I love most because of the dangerous conditions on Southwestern Avenue. Last year, my fiance totaled his new pickup truck while trying to leave our neighborhood. He looked both ways, saw a semi heading south and no cars coming north. And he figured he had a safe window where he could turn. What he couldn't see, what no one could reasonably expect, was a car flying by so fast that it passed the semi and slammed into the driver's side of his pickup truck. He thought he was in the clear, but if someone going that fast still managed to hit him. I could have lost him that day, and because of the city's ongoing failure to take meaningful action on a road we all know is unsafe. Speeds on the stretch often top 90 miles per hour. It's not just fast, but it's deadly. With more families, businesses, and visitors coming into Wheeler District, the risks are only going to grow. Please do not wait until someone else gets seriously hurt or worse. Thank you for your time today.
Hello, my name is Joe Quinlan. My business address in the Wheeler District is 1737 Spoke Street, and I also live in the neighborhood just a block to the west of the Wheeler District, and that address is 1132 Southwest 18th Street. I've lived in South Oklahoma City since 2008, and I've had a business there since 2020, although I've been doing business at the Ferris wheel since it opened in, I think it was 2016. And over the course of those years, I've seen how much of an issue Western has been. I've been in near accidents on Western just about a month ago, actually. But I don't want to say anything you guys have already heard, but as an employer, it's dangerous for, there's a lot of businesses in Wheeler. You might not think that or see that, but there's probably near 30 businesses there, and there's people that go into Wheeler every day to work, including myself. So I'm coming at it from a neighbor, a business owner, and someone who's trying to protect not only my employees that complain about the conditions of getting out on Western, but also patrons. And about a month ago, I was tagged in a post on Facebook where one of my patrons was complaining about how dangerous Western was, and they weren't directing it towards me. I don't even know if he knew that I read the post, but I'm just going to read part of it. He says, "The bus is across the railroad, the walkway is cut off at the bridge, getting a car is a parking mess at times. Getting back on Western is nerve-wracking. The only way I get here anymore is by Uber or Lyft, and I feel bad for them getting out here." And the thread, if you go on to read the thread and the responses, there was a lot of people that agreed with him, that Western is just not something they really even want to deal with because of the safety issues. And it's not so much as going in, but it's getting out of Western. But I would say that when I go in from the neighborhood, because there's no connecting streets, I have to go down to 21st Street over to Western, and I got to cross back over Western. The situation that happened with me was someone was turning in heading south while I'm going north. They're turning in, and the person behind them was not patient. And they swerved around them. Instead of slowing down and letting them turn, they swerved around them, which made a car swerve into my lane about 50 feet ahead of me, coming straight on. It would have been a head-on collision, and that car was able to swerve back over, and it missed me by a couple feet. And situations like that happen all the time. I can't tell you how many accidents I've seen just by being there during the day at work. And I think a reduction in speed is a necessity, but also it's the first step in addressing this on a broader scale. So thanks for your time and consideration.
Hello, my name is Kat Hoyle, and I live at 1820 Pioneer Street. As a parent raising 3 children in the Wheeler District, including 2 teenage drivers and a third who will begin the permit process within a year, I am writing with deep concern about the speeding and the overall safety of Southwestern Avenue. This issue was personal for our family. One of our teenage sons was involved in a car accident on Western about a year ago due to another driver driving at an unsafe speed. His car was totaled. We are incredibly grateful that everyone walked away without serious injuries, but we know how easily that outcome could have been different. The experience made it painfully clear how dangerous this stretch of road has become, not just for pedestrians, but for all road users, including inexperienced drivers. Western Avenue is not a highway. It cuts through a neighborhood where families live, children play, and teens are learning how to navigate the road. But the current design encourages fast driving and risky behavior. Recent incidences, like the 6-year-old that was hit, made it clear that we're not dealing with isolated incidences. This is a pattern, and it's only a matter of time before another family is impacted. Roundabouts and street narrowing are not just traffic calming measures, they are life-saving design interventions. They send a powerful message. This is a place where people live, not just a route to cut through. These changes would make Western Avenue safer for everyone, especially the most vulnerable in our community. Please partner with us in making this neighborhood a safer place to raise our children. We should not have to fear for their safety every time they cross the street or get behind the wheel. Thank you so much for your attention and your intervention. We appreciate it.
I have one more, Blair Humphreys. Again, your name, address.
Thank you guys for your time. Blair Humphreys again at 1801 Wheeler Street. And I think it might be helpful to put a little of this in context and understand how you go from having the street that we have today to having the issues that we're experiencing as development occurs along the corridor. And the Wheeler District is really the emergence of a plan that was started by the city beginning in 2003 as they produced a plan for the Scenic River Overlay and called for mixed-use, pedestrian-oriented neighborhood to be developed exactly on the place that we're developing it today. That was part of the city's vision in 2003. It was the vision that we continued in 2014 when we hosted the first privately led community charrette. Had over 1,000 people show up in South Oklahoma City over the course of a week to help plan the vision for the neighborhood. And it's a vision we've stayed committed to. And really, the vision has stayed consistent. It's to develop a neighborhood, much like the great neighborhoods that you experience on any corridor in Oklahoma City, whether it's Northwestern Avenue or 16th Street or 23rd Street. There's lots of great examples of where streets have appropriate interventions. From the beginning, we proposed a roundabout, and that was something that was done in consultation with great engineers, with city officials. It was part of a conversation that's now been going for over 10 years. Really, in the last 14 years, we've been working on a dedicated way to not only do the development, but to partner with the city in making Western Avenue what it needs to be in order to see the fulfillment of the vision that they originally presented in 2003. During that 14-year period, we've now seen 3 fatalities on Western Avenue. And these are not examples of fatalities because of a speed limit issue, although we're grateful for a lesser speed limit. The cars are moving excessively beyond the speed limit. And if you look at the corridor, we don't see any reason that a speed limit sign is going to change that type of behavior. I'm not sure you can read a speed limit sign when you're doing 90 off of a bridge embankment onto an expressway corridor. There's a couple benefits of an appropriate intervention. As mentioned, the Jones Grove neighborhood, which sits west of us and where Western Gateway Elementary School is located, has never had a 15th Street arterial connection. That was a connection that went away before World War II. Of course, this used to be part of the riverbed. It then became part of an airport that also bisected that opportunity. But that opportunity is there today for a 15th Street connection that would connect Western Avenue all the way to Jones Grove and beyond to the stockyards. There's also a need for there to be an intervention at the south end of the bridge. That's where speeds pick up. You come down off the bridge, you can't see where you're going, and people are moving extremely fast. They continue moving extremely fast, even as traffic is increasing in these side-to-side access movements. Right now, we have approximately 250 residents, plus 30-plus businesses in Wheeler District. By this time next year, we will have more than double that number of residents in Wheeler District. So this isn't a problem that's operating at a small issue. It's a problem that's already operating at a major level, and it's only going to get worse in time. We've been in conversation with city officials now for over 3 years with specific engineering requests related to having an intervention on this street, narrowing lanes, adding a roundabout. Those conversations to date have not produced an approvable result in their opinion. What we're asking for is some support to say this isn't just a speed issue, although we certainly want support on that, and we support Ms. Miller and her recommendation for that. What we're saying is that speed alone is not going to change behavior. It's time for the city to do more, and we would be excited to partner with them in that. So we thank you for your time, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Secretary, and members of the Traffic Commission. We hope that you can give us the support today on the speed reduction, and we would anticipate a continued opportunity to partner with you as we look to do what makes sense for everyone on Western Avenue. Thank you.
All right, thank you all very much. Do we have anybody else that wants to speak on item 5C? Okay, very good. Staff, are we ready?
All right, you've got our comments before you. This item was continued from the March 17th meeting. The application is a speed limit reduction from 40 to 30 between Southwest 3rd Street and Southwest 29th Street. This particular nearly 2 miles corridor of Western Avenue runs through kind of two distinctly different areas. There's the section basically from about Southwest 21st Street down to the south towards Southwest 29th, which is pretty much heavily urbanized. And then when you get north of 21st Street, it becomes more of a transitional area because the level of urbanization decreases, especially when you get in the vicinity of the I-40 crossing. So as a result, we conducted a pair of speed studies on Western Avenue. We conducted one in the vicinity of Southwest 17th Street and one in the vicinity of Southwest 27th Street, where we have these two different levels of development. In the vicinity of 17th Street, we did a speed study between February 10th and 18th. And during that study, we collected traffic data from 60,599 vehicles. We found that 75% of drivers were currently traveling at or below the currently posted 40-mile-an-hour speed limit, and 20 were traveling at or below the requested 30-mile-an-hour limit. The observed 50th percentile speed on Western Avenue in the study was 36 miles an hour, and the 85th was running around 42 miles an hour. During the course of this study, the highest speed we recorded was 114 miles an hour. So in the second area, in the more heavily urbanized section, we conducted a study in the vicinity of Southwest 27th Street. In that study, we collected data from more than 55,000 vehicles, and that was done February 10th through the 14th. And we found that 95% of vehicles were traveling at or below the currently posted 40-mile-an-hour limit, and 30% were traveling at or below 30. The observed 50th percentile speed was 33, and the 85th percentile speed was 38. And even in this more tightly urbanized corridor, the highest recorded speed we got was 81. When we evaluated the corridor, we used two different methods for looking for a speed limit assessment. We used the NCHRP method, which was developed in 2021, and we also used a method we've been using since 2013, which was written by Linda Bellalight. Both these methods produced similar results in as much as the Bellalight method suggested a credible speed limit for Western Avenue in the vicinity of 40 miles an hour in the area from about 21st Street to the north, and suggested at least, I'm sorry, I've got that wrong. Yeah, 43 miles an hour for Western Avenue from Southwest 21st Street to the north, and then in the more urbanized area, it was looking at something in the neighborhood of maybe 35 miles an hour. And we got similar results from the NCHRP method, which was just developed in 2021. So action on this item will be at the discretion of the commission. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about the application.
All right, do I have a motion concerning item 5C?
I'd like to move to accept.
Seconded.
Okay, we have a motion to approve item 5C by Commissioner Cornett and seconded by Commissioner Martinez. Okay, any talk on this item, ma'am?
Yes. I want to thank all of the neighbors for coming out. I know that there are business owners here, but there are also people who live in the neighborhood and deal with this every day. I deal with this every day. This is my neighborhood. So I don't I can't recall the last time I got out onto Western Avenue without having to go like hit 4,000 RPM, right? It is an extreme entrance because people are going so quickly there. That said, I think all of the neighbors here also understand that this is one of many steps that need to happen. This body previously has been hesitant to change the speed limit if there aren't structural changes that are happening on the street as well. I will be voting yes for this today, knowing that the neighborhood and the city are working together to produce those structural changes. I think this is one step in the right direction to make that possible. Having a driver feedback sign will be helpful, given that that will at least let people know that they are coming down off of the bridge at an excessive speed. I think probably sending out some people from our friends at the police department might be helpful too, just to monitor the situation and get some more activity going on your end as well would be helpful. But I think that this is a really good move in the right direction for as many reasons as have been given today. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else want to speak on this item? Yes, sir.
One, is there a bond project on this area yet, or is there a plan to be one potentially? Okay. No is what I'm seeing right
We
now.
had a head shake. Oh, yeah. Would you go to a microphone so we can get it on record?
Daniel can see me. Hi, Debbie Miller. At this time, we do not have a bond project currently in the 2017 or for the future 2025. It has not been identified.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Several people that did ask for this to be included in the bond issue. As part of the public gathering, that was one of the things that it was identified by several people that this should be part of the bond project moving forward.
And is it too late to try to get it incorporated?
Not necessarily.
Okay, thank you.
Never say never.
Never say never.
Mr. Chair, if I could,
Sir,
David
if I could
Box, David Box, 525 Northwest 11th. So I'm going to turn this, helped Blair and Ashley since the idea of Wheeler. The developer has offered to pay for the roundabouts and all of those things. So this is simply the first step, the roundabouts, the narrowing, all of which the developer has offered to pay for.
Thank you.
Sir, if I could have you fill out one of the green cards, please. Thank you.
And then one other question on that. Has there been a request for a traffic signal at 16th or 17th?
We've not received a request yet, no.
Okay.
Might be worth mentioning. So 16th and 17th are in place, but the most intense traffic impact will be at 15th Street, since that'll be a through street to the west. And so the majority of the conversation is focused on the end-cap streets, which are 15th Street on the north and 19th Street or Hanger Street on the south. Those will be the kind of two endpoints where the majority of traffic meets that current corridor condition. You have a railroad crossing farther south, and then of course farther north you have the bridge.
Yeah, I guess my thought is just, maybe just interim time frame. If something can go at 16th, and that while things are working at 15th and all that, does that not make sense that that could be something that helps some of the safety issues right now?
We've been in conversations on this topic for over 3 years. So at any point we get the green light, we can get a solution in place really quick. It's not really an issue of all of a sudden there's this knowledge of an issue. So I think that's been the challenge to this point, is just making it an issue that people cared about.
Yes, sir.
I tend to agree with Commissioner Wynn. I understand, but I also understand that a road has a feel to it, and I think that this is what the Belly Line study reflects, that drivers just have a feel to how the speed limit should go. And this particular corridor, you don't have a lot of streets, side streets coming in, and it gives it a feel, and this is why we have such a problem with the speeders, because it just feels like it ought to be at least 40. So I'm just a little concerned that even if in reducing the speed limit, which I don't have a problem with, but I just don't know if the driver's reaction is going to be the result that what everyone here wants, and that is a reduction in speed, because the street just has a feel to it that it should be faster than 30 miles an hour, because it's 4-lane with very few roads coming in from the side.
Yeah, and you make a great point. One of the things, if you've driven it recently, you would see is the apartment complex that is currently being built, and within a year, those will be occupied. Also worth noting that the east side of Western, although a grass field right now, we went and entitled that through a PUD in the last year or two. So the east side of Western is fully entitled through the city of Oklahoma City to be built out in a similar manner to what is on the west side. So to your point, yes, right now, what we're trying to do is protect the future, and it will feel very differently 1 year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. It's already a problem. That problem will just be exacerbated without some solutions put in place, which, again, we believe this to be the first step.
Stuart, who makes the decision on the, like a roundabout and all that? Are you working on that, or Public Works? Does it go through the Planning Commission? How does it, City Council, I assume, officially?
The Public Works has been in conversation with the Wheeler District. They have a consultant who's been working on plans. We've made comments and we're going back and forth. They have offered to pay for the roundabout. The main question is reducing lanes or having a 2-lane roundabout, because there's over 20,000 cars a day that travel on Western to get to the highway. So we're working with their consultant to try to work out those issues.
Okay, thanks.
So ma'am, you're saying that it would be a 2-lane roundabout compared to a 4-lane roundabout?
Oh, no, they were requesting just a 1-lane roundabout, kind of like what we have at 10th and Walker. And we're saying that it needs to be at least 2 lanes to allow the traffic to go through and get to the highway.
Right, because in the past, we've talked about traffic flow and the amount of lanes, when you can go down to a 1-lane. And these numbers in the 15, 20,000 does require a 4-lane road, per se.
Yeah, as the Wheeler District develops and they start developing closer to Western, it's going to change the feel of the street. And at that time, we'll probably be able to go to the 3-lane configuration that they're wanting, because it won't feel like a high speedway that it does now.
Well, but you would still want to be able to flow 18,000 cars.
Yes,
through.
at this time. I think their final build-out is 10, 15, 20 years away. But they do have some great ideas for this area.
Well, what I was talking about is right now, the street is being used. What's the number exactly, sir?
Current 82.
They're at 16,000 is the current uses per day.
Yes.
So by bringing in more people, that may even go up, which would require it to stay a 4-lane road.
Of course. And that's where we're at today. And that's why we continue to work with their consultant on the size of the roundabout.
Okay?
Okay.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I might need to clarify a couple comments. So our development is not 15 to 20 years out. It's an active development site that is doubling the number of residences in the next year. It's very active. The 250-unit apartment complex will be built directly abutting Western Avenue. So it's not something that's 20 years in the future, and it's not something that's far away from Western Avenue. These are residences that are being built directly on Western Avenue, in line with the city's vision for a mixed-use Main Street corridor on Western Avenue. As far as the corridor goes, we worked with the city hand in hand to fulfill every request that they made in terms of what the engineering and traffic expertise necessary to justify a 1-lane roundabout would be. All of those tests came back, and all of that analysis came back in support of a 1-lane roundabout as being a satisfactory traffic intervention according to the capacity limits and traffic flow for the south side. So I do believe that a 1-lane roundabout is absolutely not only appropriate given the city's preference for a Main Street retail corridor on Western Avenue, but it's also justified by the traffic analysis that was done both by our engineers working on our behalf, as well as the third-party engineer that did its own independent analysis. Thank you.
Staff, I'd like you to read the paragraph that you have where you talked about the state recommendation about lowering speed limits using the 85 and the 50 percentile, where you said you shouldn't change something if it's that those percentiles are, do you know where that's at?
It's not part of this particular report, but I know that in the manual on uniform traffic control devices, it does recommend not posting a speed limit which is greater than like a 5-mile-an-hour differential from the observed 85th percentile speed. For the most part, from a lot of the studies that we've been looking at, though, recently, and the methods we've been switching to, we're using more of a 50th percentile speed now when we're looking at setting speed limits within like urbanized areas. 85th percentile, I think, was originally developed for more free-flow highway conditions as opposed to like urban arterials or collector roads or things along of that nature.
So the example here would be when it's recommended for 43, and that's what the 85th percentile showing, that you wouldn't go below the 40.
That's the Bella Light methodology that's up on the screen right now. And what that methodology looks at is it looks at the built environment and driver response to the built environment. And it was a study that was prepared to recommend a credible speed limit that most drivers would probably adhere to. You know, you could probably take, on any given roadway, you could probably remove all speed limit signs, and you would probably, your findings would be that the observed speed limit that most people will decide to travel will be in response to the surroundings through which they're going. And a lot of times, these methodologies we found are pretty darn representative of what we're finding based on our speed studies, regardless of the posted limit on the road. I mean, we've had other studies in the past. There's a street called Pebblestone Parkway. It's in far northwest Oklahoma City. It's just a 2-lane roadway, but it's got a wide divided median. It's got basically brick walls lining both sides of it because it passes through a residential area. But there are no residential driveways. There are only a handful of access streets. And even though it's posted at 25, we've done studies numerous times over the years, and we find that the 85th percentile hovers somewhere in the neighborhood of the low 40s. And it's just driver response to the built environment. And the two methods that are before you today, the NCHRP method and the Bella Light method, they are both written based on basically a lot of empirical study looking at driver response to the built environment. So yeah, the information we provided is the best that we have to provide in the way of guidance, because I know that there's a lot of interest in reducing the speed limit on this road, but as some have already mentioned, that posting a different speed limit by itself won't absolutely achieve the results that are being sought.
So what I like to throw out there for us to think about is, seeing as we kind of agree that the road looks like a 40-mile-an-hour road. At some points 43, at some points 37, or 38. But it looks like a 40-mile-an-hour road. But we want to do something while we're getting ready to do streetscaping and all these other things, which may take a while. How about just saying, let's go to 35? That way we can post new signs, we can post red flags on it to say it's a new speed limit. That'll bring the attention to the drivers that something's different, but not make it so that the city gets a lot of money from speeding tickets, because they'll be out there and they'll hit them at 10 over all the time. And that's not what we want to do to our drivers. So that's just something to think about, sir. Your input?
If you wouldn't mind just reposting the point system, I think it's got an important point. If you'll notice, there was a lot of comments about the built environment. The only category that actually is an express portion of the constructed environment in terms of physical buildings is the final bullet point. And of course, it does have commercial buildings. All the other elements are elements controlled by the city and the way that they decide to interpret the infrastructure itself. And so it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you keep too much pavement and you have too many lanes and you don't allow on-street parking, then it always qualifies for higher speeds. And there is a chicken and egg issue there. to your point, I totally agree. I think it's actually unfair to drivers to have every environmental cue that the city controls tell them to go fast, and then have a speed sign up with a policeman ticketing them. And we get a lot of visitors, and a lot of visitors both coming through and visitors to our district. They're not going to know that, like, oh wait, I didn't see the sign. They're going to see the corridor. I think 35 is certainly a fair meeting point, but specific to the way that you framed it, which is 35 is an intermediate solution, assuming that the city is committed to a real intervention that lowers speeds, reduces lanes, and creates a long-term infrastructure plan that's in line with the development that's occurring on the corridor.
Right, but I would just be careful about saying to reduce lanes because of the category of the road.
Well, we
It's
have
a major arterial into
Yeah.
the city and out of the city.
It's a major arterial to an I-40 interchange that's backed up 8 hours a day. So it's not going to change anything
Well,
there.
that's where I'm saying,
Yeah.
that's where I'm
Yeah.
saying that I don't know if a one lane each way is.
Yeah, we're
is-
proposing three lanes, one lane in each direction with a two-way center turn lane,
See,
which has
I don't
actually
even-
been proven.
I don't even know if it could handle that amount of traffic.
It's actually, we already have multiple engineering studies that say it absolutely could. So as requested by the city, including one by an independent third-party consultant, not hired by us.
Right, but that's all in the future. So what I think is.
No, we already have that in hand, just to be clear.
I meant any streetscaping, anything that changes how it currently looks is not part of this, and it's not going to happen next week. So.
Yeah, but I was just responding
Oh,
to
of
what you
course.
said,
Right.
which is that if we want to wait until the city has an intervention in the infrastructure, maybe 35 is the right, and we say.
That's what I just want to
But
make sure.
if we've been denied an opportunity for an infrastructure intervention, but we're being given an opportunity for a speed reduction, and that's all we can get right now,
Okay, I see.
then we're going to continue to stand behind the 185 letters on your desk that a speed reduction is what's warranted. So.
But again, we have to worry about the 100,000 drivers that's out there also, and being able to bring people into the city, out of the city, and do what's right for them. As you said, it's not fair to say drive 30 when it looks like a 40.
Yeah, so we would, I think, both agree that the best solution is to get to safer speeds and to do it through an infrastructure intervention that makes sense for the corridor, for the people who are traveling through the district, for the people that live near the district, and for the people that live and own businesses in the district itself.
So would you or you all,
well, it's not actually
a 35 feel?
Yeah, it's a Public Works Director
Well, of
request for a 30-mile-an-hour signal, so I can't speak on her behalf since
No.
she's the applicant. So I'll let her talk.
Ma'am?
Yes, we wanted to go ahead and reduce it. We know that typically you go down by 5 as you go through, and so that was the request, starting from 3rd Street, to reduce it by 5, and then in this section, it would be down at 30 miles per hour. We felt that that would be safer, and with the driver feedback signs, it would help people adjust to that lower speed limit. This is just the first step. We're going to see how this works, and then we'll look at other opportunities.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So that's my recommendation to the motioner, that if under your consideration, to maybe modify the motion to a 35. If you don't, that's fine.
I'd like to keep it as it is, and
30,
I also
okay.
just wanted to mention, we just went through a presentation for Vision Zero. This falls very much in line with that, as well as the roundabouts do. So I also want to keep in mind that our body is not just here to keep drivers moving in and out of the city. Our body is here to make sure that everybody is safe, interacting with the streets that we are representing. So.
And okay. All right. Anybody else up here have any comments? Yes, sir.
So one last thing. I think we just don't need to throw away good for great. a traffic signal today will also help a lot with the safety issues that are going on there, along with what's going on. You could look at a reduced speed along with that traffic signal. So I would recommend to Commissioner Cornett, and take it or leave it however you want to, if there is a reduction of the speed, maybe not contingent, but along with hopefully an application for a traffic signal at 16th or 17th, maybe goes along with it too.
I would leave that back in the hands of the people from the district that would be applying for that, or even the Public Works Director to apply for that. However, I know that that would be an expensive endeavor, and it sounds like that would probably fall back on the neighborhood to actually fund that. In accordance to trying to get to the final solution of getting a roundabout, they would have to pony up twice to do something that is that extensive, knowing that they have roundabouts already in motion. I'm not going to change my motion.
Very fair. And then with that, what is the development on, or the timeframe of the development so far with the roundabout, streetscape going on there? Have you guys gotten plans completed, or is it still just going through preliminary engineering review?
We're ready to do the roundabout immediately, as soon as we can get a stamp approved by Public Works.
Okay, and is there any other streetscaping that's in the plan?
What's that?
Is there any other streetscaping that's in the plan to try to lower speed limits?
Yeah, so the plan for the roundabout, it's actually two roundabouts that are paired, so that there's actually a reduced speed zone that would occur basically between the railroad tracks and Southwest 15th. It includes all the striping and support sidewalks and everything else you would expect, as well as a very important transition west, as mentioned previously, into the neighborhood west of us. If you haven't been down to Wheeler District, we'd love to have you out and happy to host you. And I think that you'll see that the infrastructure and the care that's put in both the design and the implementation is executed with a ton of care. We believe streets really, really matter. We believe the work that you do is important. And we think that the infrastructure, the combination of concrete and landscape and the way that it's articulated in the built environment sends the right signals for how pedestrians, for how automobile users, and how cyclists and everyone else can get along and work well and use the streets as they're intended.
Okay, anybody else have anything?
I do.
Yes, sir.
In my 6 years on this commission, I've stood by two things. Is I typically never lower speed limits, like you mentioned earlier, but I always listen to my neighborhoods. But this isn't a neighborhood. This is a city street we're talking about. And dropping a speed limit 10 miles an hour, carrying that many cars, you already have plans to bring in more cars here very soon. I think 10 is not the good way to do it. It's just my opinion. I think the stoplight that you keep bringing up is probably the best option to keep 4 lanes open. I heard from all 3 members that I know that live in Wheeler District about this, all 3 of them. And they weren't all on the same page, I'll just be honest with you. So I can't decide how I'm going to vote yet, but I appreciate everybody coming out and speaking. I've read some of these letters while we were talking about this, and appreciate everybody writing those.
There are letters in here from people who aren't in this neighborhood, just so we're clear. There are people that work all along the Western Corridor, along with people who live in the neighborhood directly to the west of Wheeler. So there's a huge stack to get through, but it's not just support from Wheeler District. That's the majority of people who are here, but there are people that are affected by this, commuters that are coming through that are also offering their support in this as well.
Sir?
I understand that something needs to be done. I'm like Commissioner Wynn, I'm just not sure that a reduction in speed limit with no other changes to the street are going to achieve what you want done, and that's to slow down traffic. I do agree that it seems like that a traffic signal at the intersection coming out of Wheeler would help. That was one of the comments that I'd heard earlier, that it was hard to get out on Western. Has that been considered?
There's no funding for a traffic signal. There's no funding, there's no warrant study. It would be a $1 million plus Band-Aid that would just get trashed once we're able to get the roundabouts approved. I think that would be an enormous fiscal waste, not to mention it wouldn't solve the problem.
All right. Any other talk on item 5C?
I don't think so. The fact that the Public Works has brought this application and is in favor of taking it to 30, I think I'm fine with that. I mean, they're the ones that are, working on all this stuff. And it sounds like this whole area is it's gonna happen. I mean, whether it goes to a 2-lane or a 3-lane with the circles, it's gonna happen at some point in the not too distant future. So I think this, like she said, is a great way to start the process, to slow people down, see how it works, and go from there. So I'm definitely in favor of this.
Okay. Any other talk on item 5C? Okay, we have a motion to approve 5C by Commissioner Cornett, second by Commissioner Martinez. Time for your votes. Item has passed with 5 in favor and 3 against. All right, now we go to item 5D, Mark Zitwald, Johnson and Associates, mid-block pedestrian crossing, Southwest 15th Street, approximately 135 feet west of the west curb line of South Indiana Avenue. And sir, if you just wait a moment,
Sure.
We'll let everybody leave, so we can hear you.
They left me. I've been abandoned, which actually ties in perfectly. I'm Mark Zitzow with Johnson & Associates. Address is 1 East Sheridan Avenue. The project before you actually coincides perfectly with the case you just heard because it's along Southwest 15th Street, immediately to the west. I don't know if that door is going to close. So we are immediately west of the Wheeler District, and what was talked about was a future intersection of Southwest 15th and Western. Blair brought that up. This would be the first time that it's happened, maybe ever, or post-World War II. So where we are at is Rotary Park. This is an incredible project, an incredible partnership. We are not the ones here to take credit for it. Megan and Ashley with Urban Design Associates out of Pennsylvania have really spearheaded a public engagement project for this neighborhood with the Oklahoma City Housing Authority, with the Planning Department, with Public Works, with the Parks Department. There are so many players that have gotten it this far. We were just simply the folks to put the plans together. So as part of this project, if you can go back one slide real quick, there's an early activation project that's going to happen prior to the redevelopment of this housing project, which is one of the oldest in the city. The parking lot in Rotary Park is currently used for drifting. If you were to look at an area, I mean, you could see the aerial on the top. You see all the little circles underneath our line work. Drifting is occurring in the parking lot. And so part of this through public engagement was how do we redesign the parking lot, make it safer, but make it a place people can hang out. And so what we've done is put a center median in that parking lot, and then we have high friction surface treatment that will prevent anyone from driving around that loop at a higher clip. And so the other portion of that parking lot, the northern nose of it, will be a community painted mural that gets put in the center of that. And the community will come together and do that. So we hope that this eventually will be used for food trucks and other events. When you think about being on the south end of a large apartment project, a neighborhood, we needed to figure out a way to get people safely across the street. And so we've done 2 things along Southwest 15th. The first, through the ASAP program, we have sought a request for speed humps to the east and to the west of the proposed mid-block crossing. We have proposed it as a raised crosswalk, which to my knowledge will be the first City of Oklahoma City approved raised crosswalk. I think there's one at the Capitol. But without lighting and flashing beacons and things like that, we're using the speed humps to slow traffic. This is a federally funded project, so we have to be completed by August, and with that also comes some fairly tight project dollars that we're trying to work within. So the crosswalk will ultimately serve the residents to get them from their units down to the park, and we believe we have positioned this properly so that when the Early Childhood Center, which is the building immediately north of the crosswalk, is renovated, that will tie into their ramps and to their sidewalks, and then it will also be able to stay as it all gets redeveloped. So there's been a lot of planning and a lot of effort, and we appreciate city staff significantly getting this docketed in the time frame they have. Because as I mentioned, the parking lot and the street improvements have to be constructed prior to August to achieve the federal funding, which, as you all know, right now is on a little shaky ground. So with that, we're happy to answer any questions, but we would ask for your approval today.
All right, thank you very much. Anybody else want to speak on 5D? Okay, staff input.
All right, I believe Mr. Zitzow has probably summarized this the best he possibly can. In this particular case, what's being requested is the introduction of a mid-block pedestrian crossing on Southwest 15th Street, and it'll be about 135 feet to the west of Indiana Avenue. The introduction of a mid-block pedestrian crossing can heighten awareness for all roadway users to the presence of pedestrians crossing at this particular junction. In this particular case, or typically, parking would be restricted on the approaches leading into this. However, parking is already currently restricted on both sides of 15th Street on both approaches, so there won't be any impacts to on-street parking. And as Mr. Zitzow noted, they're proposing to use a speed table for or basically a raised crosswalk, which will provide a pedestrian crossing in which a person steps off the curb and they'll be at the same level all the way across the crossing. So I believe drainage improvements are included as part of this. And other than that, happy to answer any questions you might have on the application.
All right, do we have a motion concerning item 5D?
Move approval.
Motion to approve by Commissioner George. Do we have a second?
Seconded.
Second by Commissioner Martinez. Do we have any talk on this item?
Have the two speed humps that are going to be on each side, have they already been installed, or have you already applied for them?
We've submitted the application for them, but they have not been installed.
Okay. So it'll really be three, because you'll have the two humps, and then the crosswalk itself is a speed reducer, right?
Correct. The goal is to get the speed reduced by the time they're getting to the crosswalk.
Right. And it's actually curb height.
That is correct.
Okay. Oh, interesting. I don't think I've ever seen that.
And what's the speed limit of the hump / sidewalk or a crosswalk? What's it rated at or for? Because you said it's a raised crosswalk. So
The rate of speed at which they'll come over it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be less than 10 miles an hour. I mean, we're hoping that they're almost coming to a full stop by the time they're plateauing and coming over. This is not something you could hit at 25 miles an hour and proceed on. You will likely.
And then what is the speed limit on that road?
25.
25, okay.
And I think your staff report noted that currently there was a clocked speed at 54. So.
Yeah, it is straight, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, sir.
So are the speed humps going to be put in as part of ASAP or a separate project? Might be a little conflicting information in the packet.
Well, I know they made a request to have these things funded under our Alternative Speed Abatement Program, which is a cost-sharing program. I'm not sure if that will work from your timeline, because you may need to order them separately, because we collect funds and then we place our factory orders, and currently our speed humps are coming out of Canada. So there is, I mean, from a project standpoint, and considering that the speed cushions are not all that expensive, it would probably be best to fund them out of your project, and that way you can get an order out immediately.
Yeah. So in working with Public Works, we've made the request for the ASAP program. If in the event that we get too close, the project will install them. I think the difference with that particular item, the speed humps do not have to be installed by August as part of the ASAP program. The parking lot and the raised intersection is really the priority there.
Okay. Any other talk on item 5D? 5D, yep. Okay, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner George, seconded by Commissioner Martinez, and ready for your votes. Item has passed with all 8 in favor. All right. We now go to item 5E, Brandon from Park Planning and Development Management to establish a reserved parking location, and it's listed up on the screen there. Sir, name, address, you got 5 minutes.
Good afternoon, Brandon Boyson, Park Planning and Development Manager for Oklahoma City Parks, 420 West Main, Suite 210. So we are in the process of building and developing a new park in the site of an old elementary school location. This has been something that the neighborhood has been after for quite some time, and we're finally able to get to the point of putting it in. Typically, neighborhood parks are intended to be walking, cited for walking distances for the neighborhood. And so we don't have a large parking lot per se, but for those that maybe cannot walk as far or maybe have other apparatuses they need to help with mobility, or even with strollers, things like that, we have looked at providing some additional parking along the street. The concern with making these reserved and actually getting them off the road is to try to help reduce the amount of clutter that could be on the street with the the development of the new park. Happy to help answer any questions if you have anything.
All right, thank you very much. Anybody else speaking on 5E? Okay, staff?
Okay, I'm just going to supplement comments that you just heard from Brandon. I believe that when we had discussed this project with him, I believe the reason for providing inset parking on both sides of the park was to provide better clearance behind residential driveways for those residents that will be living adjacent to it. It'd make ingress, egress to their driveways easier if on-street parking was in a setback area. And as a result of making those changes to accommodate local area residents, they're proposing a total of about 12 inset parking spaces on this particular block. Based on current PROAG requirements and ADA, the ratio of accessible parking spaces to structured parking spaces is 1 per 25 in this particular case. So the addition of the single space on Lindsay Avenue would be in accordance with PROAG requirements. The design of the space being at least 24 feet long and 13 feet wide is also in accordance with current PROAG requirements. So action on the item will be at the discretion of the commission. I'm happy to answer any other questions you might have on the application.
All right, thank you very much. Do we have a motion concerning 5E?
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner Wynn.
Second.
Second came from Commissioner Carnes. Any discussion on this one? All right, we have a motion to approve item 5E by Commissioner Wynn. Well, we need to change that. Ma'am.
Jill.
Yeah. I show George. I show George as the move by, but it was by Wynn.
It's moved by Daniel Wynn.
There we go. All right, moved by Commissioner Wynn, seconded by Commissioner Carnes. Votes, please. Item has passed with all 8 in favor. Okay, thank you. All right, we go now to comments from citizens. Anybody out there want to say anything? All right, very good. Now we go to item 7, reports from other commissioners, et cetera, et cetera. Commissioner Varnell.
Since Rob's not here, yes.
We were going to get away.
I really enjoy those conversations like we had about this thing on Western today, and they're a struggle to me, though. I don't know if we did the right thing today. Don't know, won't ever know, really. I sure hope that district, and I'll say this to you since you'll take it back to them, I hope to continue to work with the city to do something. I'm still not convinced a roundabout's the right direction there. I think too many cars will be going through there, but at least we did something, I guess. because doing nothing's doing nothing.
Okay, go to Commissioner Carnes.
Nothing to report.
Commissioner Hale?
Just real quick, I also am very concerned with the decision we had today. I understand and I'd like to support neighborhoods. I'm just not sure that with no other changes other than the speed limit, it's going to make any difference due to driver expectation. And that's, to me, is more dangerous, is whenever people go and they expect people to be slowing down, in reality, when they're not, that's, to me, very dangerous. But it is what it is, and I'm glad that the neighborhood got what they came down here for, but it just concerns me that they may not achieve what they've really got in mind to do. I would hope that any changes to the street will occur quickly, because that's where the difference will be made.
Okay, to Commissioner Martinez.
I just wanted to take the time to recognize the work that the neighborhood had done together to come here together before this body, and additionally wanted to say that I was thankful for my vote in approving the motion, just because I understand that it's our duty to serve everyone that uses the streets, much as Commissioner Cornett had said. And additionally, I just wanted to take the time to hopefully continue working with them, where this body can continue working with them to make sure that they have safer streets. So that's all I have to say.
All right, go to Commissioner Wynn.
Well, just keep it going with this, if you don't mind. I mean, all in all, I'm not sure I agree with Commissioner Hale. I don't know if this was the right decision, but I have full faith in Stuart, Brandon, and Debbie to work with the neighborhood to come up with a really good solution. So really excited to see what happens.
Yep, second that.
Go to
Yeah.
Commissioner George.
That's all I
Okay.
got.
All right, the only thing I have is, what? Well,
Again.
Oh, Commissioner Cornett.
Every time. If you're watching this online, this happens every
I
time.
know.
I just want to say thank you for all of our conversation around that it was a tough one. It really was. And I know that had they come before us and said, we have these approved, now we want to lower the speed limit, it would have been a no-brainer for all of us. They've hit a roadblock with the city, and I think us talking through it and providing support behind the fact that infrastructure changes need to happen, that was a support in and of itself. And I think that that's going to go a long way to actually making whatever change needs to happen along that corridor happen. So I appreciate everybody's conversation around it. Thank you. Now you can have your turn.
Oh, thank you, ma'am. Here you go. Now we go to law enforcement with this issue. How will your police in your sector there, and your motorcycle cops and all your traffic enforcement people look at this situation before any streetscaping goes on or anything? Now there's a change in speed limit. How does that work in your environment, sir?
I think the way the typical police officer will look at it is with no tolerance. So police officers will enforce the speed limits as posted. And that's within their ability to break away from all their other duties, their ability, we have our limitations of how many officers are out there, how many are equipped with radar sensing equipment. Officers often talk with drivers and use discretion in what citation to issue. It's a drastic change from 40 to 30. And when I saw this item agenda on, I went out there and enforced traffic last week. I wrote 4 tickets in the span of 40 minutes. So even at 40, the traffic violations are there. I wrote 258s, and I think I wrote a 43, no, I wrote a 253s and 258s is what I wrote. The road is built like a high-speed thoroughfare, and that's what it looks like, and that's how people drive. So I agree that we need other interventions to get that speed down. In the meantime, enforcement is kind of what we're left with. So driver feedback signs is a big deal, and I'm interested to hear what the city's plans are for that. I also have some driver feedback signs that I intend on placing there. And we will get the word out to do some enforcement.
All right, thank you for that, counsel,
sure.
and on how it looks on your side. All right, Counselor, do you have anything else? Anything? All right. Staff, anything else?
Nothing to add.
Okay, police, anything else on any other issue, anything? Nothing?